Hola amigos, this is 101 Bronson, back today with the next Sergio Corbucci spaghetti western movie review. We're in the top 5 now, and at my number 5 we have Navajo Joe from 1966. A great, fantastic spaghetti western in my opinion. I always felt this one was a little bit underrated. It is a movie that people either love it or they hate it. A little bit like the Hellbenders. For me, I love it, I think it's great. I think it's absolutely fantastic. This one stars Burt Reynolds in his only spaghetti western outing. Famously, give you a little bit of trivia right off the bat. Famously, he was under the impression that Burt Reynolds, he was under the impression that he was going to work with Sergio Leone. They told him, "Oh, you're going to do a spaghetti western with Sergio," and of course, at that time, Corbucci wasn't really known, but by then people knew Sergio Leone, mostly because Burt Reynolds, he was friendly with Clint Eastwood, and Eastwood has been raving about this Sergio guy. He's a great director, this Sergio. He was like, "Oh, Sergio, I'm going to work with that guy as well." Well, it turned out to be the wrong Sergio, as Burt Reynolds dubbed him. And famously, Burt Reynolds wasn't too fond of the final product, and he said it's a movie that should ideally be played in prisons and airplanes because people won't be able to get away. I'm like, come on, man. If it's a prison movie, put me in prison. You know, let that be my sentence. I've said that on a couple of occasions. But no, in my opinion, this is a fantastic spaghetti western with a great cast, great direction, great action scenes. Let's get into the plot. Yeah, we'll do that right now. And yeah, hope you guys will enjoy the review. Let's dig into Navajo Joe. Ravaging the land like a pitiless scourge, Fee Duncan, played by Aldo Sambrell, and his savage gang of cutthroats massacre the entire tribe of a peaceful Navajo village, scalping them all for $1 apiece. With his companion brutally murdered, the Navajo native and the slaughter's sole survivor Joe, played by Burt Reynolds, stealthily pursues the bloodthirsty outlaws on their way to the small town of Esperanza, where a treacherous member of the community encourages Duncan to hijack a government train crammed with cash. Their well-thought strategy guarantees success. However, Navajo Joe still thirsts for retribution. Can the single man foil the plans of Duncan's ferocious crowd of killers? If that doesn't sound like a great plot description, I don't know what is. It's a fantastic spaghetti western. It's brutal, violent. There's some great scenes in here. The cast is fantastic. It's got a music score by the maestro Ennio Morricone, which Tarantino liked a lot, and he used it in Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. I believe mostly in Volume 2. I believe a track or two is in Volume 1, but Tarantino used it in Kill Bill, right? That's what I'm saying. Burt Reynolds, I think, is a credible lead in this film, as a, you know, Native American, you know. And the wig could have been better for him, but I mean, you know, I think he's great. There's also one of my favorite spaghetti western actresses in this film, Nicoletta Machiavelli. She is beautiful, beautiful woman, beautiful actress. I've enjoyed seeing her in a lot of spaghetti westerns. She's done a bunch of them. I think at least 5. She's a regular female face in these movies. The great Aldo Sambrell as the villain Duncan. I think it's his best role that he's ever had in a spaghetti western. He's been also in a lot. He's been at least in 20 to 30 spaghetti westerns. He's been in pretty much all the Sergio Leone ones. He's been in the Dallas trilogy. He's been in Once Upon a Time in the West. He's been on the in the movie we previously discussed in this series, Sergio Corbucci's The Hellbenders. But this is definitely the part where he shines. He has the most to do. He has actually a very good part as the villain. Some great scenes with him. Really enjoyed him. There's a lot of spaghetti western regulars in this movie. Some recognizable faces like Fernando Rey is in this movie as a priest. One of the actors from Django is in this movie. The actor that played the bartender Nathaniel in Django, he pops up in this movie. I forget the actor's name though. But yeah, he makes an appearance, and yeah, it's just a great spaghetti western filled with some great spaghetti western faces. A great score by the maestro Ennio Morricone. Great direction by Sergio Corbucci. He really shines. His direction really shines with the great and brutal, fast-paced action scenes. And there's a couple. The finale of the movie, to go into spoiler talk, is fantastic. It takes place at the native burial ground of Joe's ancestors. and it's a very cat and mouse type of finale. It's a little bit similar like Rambo Last Blood, you know, where they go to the farm of Rambo, the Mexican cartel, and Rambo sort of ambushes him and has all these tricks up his sleeve for him. Well, that's sort of the thing here. This is Joe's home. This is Joe's, you know, Navajo Joe's territory. You know, he has these caves that go underneath, and he ambushes people and stuff. I love seeing that, and the way, you know, there's a great axe kill in this movie. It's actually the final kill. We will not reveal who that is yet before we go into proper spoiler talk, that is. But oh man, oh man, oh man, this is a fantastic action-filled movie. It's produced by Dino De Laurentiis, who actually is a famous Italian producer. He produced many of great grindhouse cinema films, like Death Wish is probably the most popular one, I would say. Yeah, but he also had a hand with the spaghetti western. And screenplay is co-written by, of course, Sergio Corbucci himself, but also Fernando De Leo had a hand in writing this movie. And Fernando De Leo is a great writer. He was a writer also on Fistful of Dollars, and of course he is one of the Euro crime masters. He created such great movies as Milan, Caliber 9, The Italian Connection, and The Boss. Some great Euro crime movies. Shoot First, Die Later is another one. Great writer and great director in his own right, and yeah, great. I thought it was a great piece of info that he was actually a writer on this movie, and it is a very different sort of spaghetti western. Of course, in this one we don't have a gringo or even a Mexican or whatever as the lead. I know we have a Native American. We don't see too many Native Americans in these spaghetti westerns, actually. And to have one here as the lead, you know, a Native American character as the lead, I think it's quite something. It's something we don't see often. It's another reason why this movie stands out for me. And there's some sort of social or political commentary on the treatment of Native Americans. One of my favorite scenes in the movie, I'll tell you right now, is where Navajo Joe is in the town, and he's sort of talking to the townspeople, and they need his help, and he offers his help, but he wants to be the sheriff of the town. So he says, I want to be the sheriff. And then the guy who's actually the appointed sheriff, he says to Joe, but you can't be a sheriff. You know, there's never has been a Native American sheriff. There never has been an Indian sheriff. An Indian can't be a sheriff. You have to be a fully born American to become, you know, eligible for to become elected as sheriff. And then Joe turns to the current sheriff and he says, my father was born here in the mountains, just like his father before him, his father before him, and his father before him. And then he says, where was your father born? He says. And then the sheriff says, my father, he was born in Scotland. And then Joe says again, well, my father was born here in America, just like his father before him, and his father before him, and his father before him. Which one of us is more American? I love that scene, you know. That was a great scene. I love the piece of dialogue there. And I mean, he's definitely right. I mean, of the two, the sheriff's father was born in Scotland. Joe has always been in America. You know, his family has always been in America, like all the Native Americans. You know, and I thought that was great. It's not something we see often in these spaghetti westerns, so I got to give it props for that.
An Indian sheriff? The only ones elected in this country are Americans.
My father was born here, in the mountains. His father before him, and his father before him, and his father before him.
Let's get into the finale. This is like full spoiler talk. I mean, I've given a couple of spoiler warnings, but from now on we'll fully go into spoiler territory. So you have been warned. I will leave a little timestamp for you to skip to if you want to avoid anything about the ending, because I do have to talk about the ending for this one. Anyway, let's move on to the spoiler, to the ending. So in the end, there has been a bank robbery. Joe has the money, and the Duncan gang, you know, Duncan and his gang are looking for the money. They have tortured Joe and everything. Joe has escaped. Now they're holding the townspeople hostage, and they're claiming that they're gonna kill every one in town if they don't get the money. One thing leads to another. Joe leads them away from the town. He says, you know, come meet me there and there, I have the money and stuff, and they ride out. And then we go to the Indian burial ground, the Navajo burial ground. which is, like I said, Joe's home. That's where the finale takes place. And then we have, some great action scene. He traps people. He lures them into traps and everything. He ambushes Duncan's gang, picks them off. A few have been killed. There's only like 4 or 5 that actually go to the burial ground. There's only 4 or 5 people he's already taken care of a bunch of Duncan's gang. But at the end, it's Joe versus Duncan, as can be expected. There's a great little ambush that he does on Duncan, where he crawls like underneath this hole, and he ends up behind Duncan, and there's a great little fisticuff going on, and then Joe wants to go for his tomahawk or axe, or I think the better description is a tomahawk. He wants to go for his tomahawk, and then Duncan has a hidden revolver. He shoots Joe a couple of times. I counted at least 4 bullet holes in his chest eventually. But anyway, Joe dodges the last couple of bullets, and then he picks up the tomahawk and flings it and right into the forehead of Duncan. And I thought that was a fantastic final kill for this villain. I really enjoyed that. And then Joe sends his horse to town, carrying the bag of money from the bank robbery. It's kind of ambiguous whether he lived or not, but anyway, Nicoletta Machiavelli's character, she's there, and the people say, oh, the Indian kept his word, he sent us the money. And then they say, okay, let's put his horse in the stable. And she says, no, let the horse go, he knows where to go. And then she tells the horse, go to him. I know there's some sort of connection between the horse and the Native Americans. They somehow, like horse whisperers, I guess. Anyway, the horse leaves, riding off back to where Joe is at the burial ground, and that's where the movie ends. So we don't know whether Joe lived or not, but like I said, I counted at least 3 or 4 bullet holes in his chest. For me, it's one of those Corbucci endings where the protagonist dies. For me, he died, but I have seen some discussions on Spaghetti Western forums and on the SWDB, Spaghetti Western database, where people are like, oh, I like to think he survived. Well, I like to think he survived too, but I mean, 3 or 4 bullet holes in the chest. One of them was very close to the heart area. I mean, if he survived, he would have survived about 5 minutes after we left him in that scene before we went back to town, I think. But I mean, it would make for a great discussion. What do you think? Did Burt Reynolds, aka Navajo Joe, survive the movie, or did he die? Personally, I like to think, I like to think he survived, but personally, I tend to believe that he's dead. That is Dillinger, as they say. Anyway, that's Navajo Joe. I will give this movie a final rating of another excellent, solid 3.5 stars out of 5. This is definitely a movie, a spaghetti western by Corbucci that I highly recommend. Hence why it's my number 5. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy. Let me know how you feel, as always, down below in the comments on the review and on the movie itself. And join me next week when we will be taking a look at the number 4 Corbucci movie in the ranking, which is Vamos a Matar Compañeros. I did a terrible rendition of the main song, but the next movie we're covering is Compañeros from 1970, starring Franco Nero, Thomas Millian, and Jack Palance. That's going to be a great one. Looking forward to that, and you guys look forward to seeing that next week. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well, staying safe and healthy. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Adios, compañeros.
¡Vamos a matar, compañeros!